Friends, we are very happy to inform you that e-modules are prepared for B.Ed program at Telangana by the School of Education, Osmania University under Pandit Madan Mohan Malawar National Mission on Teachers and Teaching Scheme MHRD New Delhi. It's indeed our pleasure to share with the teacher educators and the prospective teachers and get maximum benefit out of it. It's a first of its attempt by us. We continue to add many more such lessons to share with you all.
Today I'll be giving some of the important information about Constructivist Approach. What is Constructivism? It's a learning theory where learning is active and constructive. And the learner builds on the previous knowledge. The people are actively making associations in order to be objective in learning. New learning is compared to the prior knowledge. So, as a cluster, when we mean by constructivism is construction of knowledge. That means we are having the prior knowledge and then we are adding new knowledge to it, further adding new knowledge to it. And in this process of layers of knowledge, we are able to construct a knowledge on the prior knowledge. And this association of knowledge, we are able to form a concept. So, this constructivism has some of the important contributors which are Piaget, Vygotsky, John Dewey, Vico, Rotary, Brunner. So, this is one of the basic approach being followed in today's teaching in the classrooms. So, what it is, when we have a glance towards it, it is based on the background knowledge of the connection to the new knowledge. It is student centered and students learn how to learn. And when we mean what isn't, it is not teacher centered. It is not the skills we are teaching in isolation. And what are the characteristics of this particular approach? One of the important characteristics is collaboration, where students are in groups and they are learning together. And when they are learning together, they are able to form concepts from their own learning as well as from the learning of others. And what are the things we have to remember when we know about constructivism? This is used for interdisciplinary exploration, and students are able to explore the knowledge and they are able to connect different subjects and they are able to form a core idea of that particular concept. And we are giving different tasks. We are using the primary sources of different information so that they are able to form the proper concepts. Not relying on the secondary sources but relying on the primary sources of the first hand information, where the student is able to directly see the see that particular thing and assume that particular thing with the senses, so that the learning is better. When we see about the Constructivist theory, it holds that learners are not passive recipients of knowledge but are more active in the process. They are built on previous experiences in order to make the sense of what they are learning. They are more active in the creation of meaning and knowledge. This leads to more student-centered approach in which the student guides his own learning. So, the important pioneers are Jean Piaget and John Dewey, who have given this particular theory, and they have given some of the important aspects to make the learning more active. And they follow the principle of construction of knowledge, where they give more importance to the construction of knowledge, a meaning of what they have learned by the connection of the past learning to the new learning and association of the knowledge, so that the learning is better and they are able to retain for a longer period of time. So, some of the popular information related to constructivism is that it is considered as a social process where the learner is able to construct the meaning through interaction of prior knowledge and the new learning events. So often learning is thought as an only individual process and the student is understanding learning, but today's learning is it it is a social process, and learning is not just individually but in groups where the student is learning and interacting with the group, and the student is sharing the information, and it is having so much of intake of the information from others. So as a group, the learning is even more better. And constructivism was coined by Jean Piaget in the year 1973, and as the process of change, knowledge, construction that occurs in one's thinking as learning occurs. So, in this approach, it is anchored on the belief that every individual constructs and reconstructs meaning depending on the past experiences. So, as we have seen, past experience is the foundation for the new experience. So, every individual is constructing by accommodating new experiences, and this kind of information collection and receiving the information or learning is based on the constructivist approach. A constructivist teacher teaches towards the big ideas or framing of concepts of a subject. All subject disciplines have the basic concept with other concepts fit. So here we are able to learn a concept where we are taking or fusing different ideas from simpler concepts to bigger concepts. We also have correlation of different subjects so that the prior importance of the subjects is not given, but the information which is laid or the concept formed from different subjects is given importance. And when we go through the Vygotsky constructive approach, we can know about the zone of proximal development, where this process of learning gives more importance to the peer group, where as a student, the student is giving the task above his IQ, where he is placed in the group and he is able to solve it. And through the group, the student is able to solve through his peer group or with the help of the teacher who is the mentor, and the student is able to excel in the task. This kind of an approach where the student is deriving maximum support through the peer group or the teacher is called guidance, and then this process is called scaffolding. And this kind of learning is the zone of proximal development given by Vygotsky. And he considered the learning as a social process where as a group one tends to learn even more better, and as he learns he is able to internalize and then he is able to learn effective for himself. In constructivist view, learning is a constructive process in which the learning is building an internal illustration of knowledge, a personal interpretation of experiences. Each person constructs a unique mental image by combining the information in the brain with the information they receive from their sense organs. So, the learning for every individual is different as the past experiences are different. So, each person constructs a unique mental image by combining the information in the brain with the information what they receive through the different sense organs. So, this kind of approach was given by Vygotsky, and when we know about the Piaget understanding the learner constructivist theory, we find that learning is an active process, and Piaget stressed on self-discovery, where the students were able to learn more meaningful context, and the learning was whole and authentic and real, and children were limited by their own experiences. So as we have a look at the flowchart, authentic activities where the basis is students were viewing and exploring through these authentic activities, and authentic assessment where they to evaluate, and innovative curriculum was followed through which active learning was a product achieved in Piaget's Constructivist Theory. And constructivist classroom have a very novel approach where there is often group learning, and the group is motivated to do a particular activity and they're coming out with the common solution to it. There is so much of brainstorming, and they are given different kinds of activities. For example, some of the common activities in biological sciences are exploring the parts of the leaf, where they are having different kinds of veins, or about the stem, monocot stem or dicot stem, monocot root or dicot root, where they are able to know about the different stems. So based on the vascular bundles, they are able to identify about the dicot stem, and based upon the scattered vascular bundles, they are able to classify them into the monocot stem, and regarding the dicot root and monocot root. So this forms the basis of some of the experiments. There are some more information related to meiosis, and during the activities related to meiosis, so basics of mitosis are being shown, where the cell is dividing, the different stages of mitosis, the mitosis or the cell division occurring in somatic cells, and meiosis occurring in the germ cells. So these kind of slides are shown where the students are getting enough exposure to the observation of the processes of science, and this forms the basis where they are able to experience, explore and retain the information about the processes involved in the classroom situation. And the classroom is very, very active, and students are doing the best in exploring and having different kinds of processes. One of the important aspect of biological sciences are drawing skill, where they are able to draw the diagram and they are able to label the parts. They are also able to observe the specimens. Some of the common specimens are shown according to the species. Aves, then they are having reptiles. They are able to label the parts, and they are able to identify the different systems, different parts of the body related to reptiles or amphibians. So the classroom is very, very active, and children enjoy the classroom activity. They are able to explore the classroom activity. They are able to come out. There is no rote learning in constructivist classroom. So the children love to explore different activities and come out with the results of the activity. They are able to conclude what they have learned in the classroom, and as they were able to question, they are able to clarify the doubts. So learning is far much better in this kind of a classroom, where the pioneers have given some of the novel ways of teaching learning experiences, where they are having the best learning experiences and deriving the best learning in this kind of a classroom. As a teacher, a constructivist teacher should possess some of the following characteristics. As against the traditional teacher, we find the constructivist teacher are able to have a sound knowledge of the subject. They are able to correlate the subject with other subjects. Often it is found that a subject is taught in monotony, and they are able to excel in the subject, but they are not able to correlate the knowledge of the subject with other subjects. So this is the advantage of the traditional classroom teaching. But the new approach is correlation. So the teacher is having the best ability to correlate one subject with other subjects. For example, the teacher is teaching the concept of biological sciences and correlating with maths, correlating with chemistry, correlating with physics, correlating with history. For example, when some of the concepts of Mendel's law are taught, the teacher is starting by associating how Mendel has started the theory, and then from the basics of history, and then coming towards observation, biological sciences, and then dealing with the topics related to some of the significance of the genes, and coming out with the aspects of adenine, guanine, thymine, cytosine. So these kind of chemical compositions which are the basics of chemistry. And as these are the constituents which are part of the chemical constituents making up the genes and chromosomes. So these are the correlation of the subjects are very significant in teaching. And as a teacher of constructivist approach, she or he should be able to correlate the subject with the physical and the social environments of the students. And often found a teacher teaches the subject which is very vague for the student to understand, as it is not in the vicinity of the student or not related to the student's environment. So it's the teacher's ability to always correlate to the present scenario where the student is there, so that the concept becomes relevant to the student. The teacher should be able to correlate the subject with the real life experiences of the students and the society. So by correlating with the real life experiences or the present situations, the teacher can help the students to understand the concept better. The teacher should also have the ability to ask thought-provoking and open-ended questions, so that it can help the student to think rationally, critically, analyze it. And when the teacher asks open-ended questions, they are able to conclude with their own creative, innovative answers. So these are some of the advantages of the methods used by the teacher in helping them to learn effectively. Constructivist learning conditions. So when we have a glance towards the learning conditions, by different embedded learning used in this approach and different kinds of modes of representations, by the social negotiations, interaction, and by the self awareness of the student is getting ownership of that particular concept. And these learning conditions are very, very prominently used in today's classroom situations. And when we have a look at the constructivist teaching sequence as given by Driver and Oldham 1986, we find different steps used in this teaching sequence. The first one is orientation, second one elicitation, restructuring, application, and review. And these steps highlight some of the important sequences which are used in the constructivist teaching. So orientation is motivation of the student so that they are ready to receive the new knowledge. It is motivating them to test the previous knowledge and then connecting to the new knowledge. Elicitation is giving different kinds of examples and making the student aware of different kind of things related to the concept. So when they are able to understand the concept related to it or varied examples of the concept, they are able to restructure it and they are able to find different kinds of things associated with it. For example, when we teach about mitosis, they are able to know about the stages of mitosis. They are able to know how the different chromosomes are dividing and hanging up in a particular ring. They are able to know about the sequence of the stages of mitosis, and they are able to know about anaphase, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. So they are able to restructure the stages when a concept like mitosis is taught. How the stages are beginning from the prophase, metaphase, anaphase and telophase. So in this process they are able to restructure or arrange the information so that they are able to understand it. And application forms the fourth stage, where after knowing about the process of mitosis or the stages of mitosis, they are able to apply the knowledge, they are able to know about the concept of mitosis and how it is helping for regrowth of the tissue or multiplication of the tissue, where the healing of the skin or different kinds of examples of mitosis are given. So this is also reinforcing the student, where they are able to apply the knowledge what they have learned. For example, when concepts of monocot stem or dicot stems are taught, they are able to know about varied plants which come under monocot, which are monocot, and there are so many, or the majority of the plants which are dicot. So internally the student is able to know about the xylem and phloem, how they are functioning in different monocot and dicot, the role of xylem and phloem, how it is functioning, and how plants are able to absorb the nutrients and water and produce the food by sunlight and different kinds of nutrients. So application part of the topic, where student is able to maximize his application and solve the problems. And the final stage in this sequence is the review. The student is collectively able to review what all he has learned, and he is able to analyze and he is able to review the whole content and summarize it and reflect about the learning. So in this sequence is very important related to constructivism, where orientation of the concepts are given, elicitation, restructuring, application review are very important regarding the learning of constructivist approach. And one of the important instructive model of 5E given by Roger Bybee are the crux of the lesson planning being followed and the teaching learning process being followed in today's classroom. And the first step is engaging, exploring, explaining, elaborating and evaluating. So in engaging step, the students are given enormous activities where they are able to explore the thing what the concepts are being dealt. So in the activity, some of the things like how to prepare a web, how to prepare a food web, or how to prepare a food chain. So different kinds of names of animals are given. So the student is able to prepare a food chain of the animals which are there. For example, a grass is eaten by a deer and a deer is eaten by a lion. So this is a food chain which is prepared. So a student is preparing a food chain. So in a group they are preparing few food chains and another group is preparing different food chains. So like this, the student is actively involved in the activity. And in the next stage, explore. The student is able to explore about different food chains, and they are also able to know that food chains are interconnected, and they are interconnected. The teacher introduces the terms like web. So food web is the term given when the food chains are interconnected, and they are able to explain about the interconnection of the food web, where different food chains are interlinked and interconnected. and teacher is defining some more concepts like producers, consumers, primary producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers. So they are able to understand about the pyramid of the food chain. The students are able to elaborate about food chain, food web and consumers, producers, and teacher is able to strengthen this process by giving some more important information about this concept. And finally the student is able to evaluate about this ecological aspects like food chain and food web. So the teacher is the student is able to evaluate what they have learned, and they are able to ask few questions to clarify the doubts, and teacher is also further reinforcing and substantiating the lesson by clarifying the doubts and asking few more questions to motivate them and make clear about the concept being taught. So 5 model is one of the important concept of the teaching learning process being followed in the classroom situations, and students just enjoy being engaged in the activity, and students actively come out by exploring the activities, and they are able to come out with the concept which they are explaining, and they are able to explore and elaborate it, and they are finally evaluating it. So 5A model is one of the important aspects of constructivist approach. When we go through about the advantages of constructive approach, it is having the maximum advantage by making the student very active and enjoy the classroom activity. Children learn more and more, and they are actively involved in the class, and they develop some of the advanced skills like critical thinking, analysis, evaluation, and negotiation among the students, interaction among the students, group activity. So this kind of collaboration of the students is helping them to develop further skills of the group activity. It encourages students to reflect, evaluate their work, and identify intermediary skills to acquire based on their needs. So the students are able to reflect upon their own effort, their own activity and outcome of the activity, and they are able to develop some of the skills and to know about the processes of science. The students are able to retain the knowledge and transferring the new knowledge in the real life. So through this model, they are able to, through these steps which are being followed in instructional model, they are able to acquire the knowledge which they are able to retain for a longer period of time, and then they are also able to apply in the day-to-day life. So this kind of approach involved in the classroom teaching, it promotes social skills, communication skills when they are involved in collaboration and exchange of ideas. So this is one of the important advantage where they are exposed to skills of social skills, communication skills. Often found that students are able to extend the subject, but they lack communication skills. So this is just pulled up in this approach where they are able to develop their critical skills. So also develop the skills of collaboration, the skills of communication, so that they are able to present their views and explain about the concept in a very effective manner. And having an information about constructive, I rather feel this approach is one of the boon to our classroom situation where they are exposed to different learning experiences, and having a look at the direct experiences, indirect experiences, vicarious experiences. They are able to derive maximum learning experiences through direct experiences, and they are able to develop good learning which they are able to retain for a longer period of time. And this learning is the knowledge which they are able to construct the knowledge based upon the prior knowledge and the past knowledge, and this sequence of the construction of knowledge forms the basis of constructivist approach, and this construction of knowledge forms effective learning in them, and which they are able to retain for a longer period of time. And this process is also called as learner building an internal illustration of knowledge and a personal interpretation of experiences, and having a unique construction of knowledge by forming mental images and combining information in the brain from the information they receive through the sense organs. So this approach is individualistic, and also they also derive the information from the different collaborative ways where they are able to construct and reconstruct based on the past experiences. So one of the important aspect also found here is that they are able to correlate different areas and come out with a crucial content, crucial concept. And this is a theory which gives maximum scope for active learning, and it is a meaning of learning where they are able to give more scope for the student in helping him to form proper learning by construction of learning. And as a learner building process, it is very active and constructive, and the important contributors Piaget, Vygotsky, Dewey have contributed and given a good scope for today's generation to explore in the classroom situation, where they are able to derive maximum learning in different kinds of activities of constructivist approach. So I feel this approach is a boon to today's teaching learning process. It is a boon to the teacher in making the student active throughout the class, and it is in fact a real boon to the learner, as they are learning everything by exploring and through processes. And learning is no more a textbook process but doing process. They are learning by doing the things. So I feel constructivism is in fact a boon to today's teaching learning process, and the students are deriving maximum benefit of this approach in today's classroom situation. So by this I conclude the lecture, and thank you one and all.